Hello viewers, you're watching India Today Global with me, Ishita Mitra, and the biggest news we're covering for you at this hour is about the ceasefire that has taken place between India and Pakistan. Now this comes after days of hostilities, days of ceasefire violations, days of terror strikes and counterattacks, and this was announced by none other than US President Donald Trump. So joining me on the broadcast is Rohit Sharma, political analyst. He's joining me from the US. So thank you, Rohit, for joining us here.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
All right, now I want to begin by asking you, because even the viewers are confused. We were thinking that, the conditions between India and Pakistan would escalate further, but suddenly a ceasefire bomb was dropped by the US president. So help us understand, how did the back channel talks, go between the two leaders and of course US, and how did US help in brokering this ceasefire?
Look, President Trump has been clear from day one. He called the attacks on Pahalgam a shame.
Yes.
He understood that India had a right to attack, react, in a limited fashion. And the administration has called for de-escalation since then. And if you've seen that, I think Indian side also has been very clear. I think for us, we wanted to show that we would not take any terror activities from Pakistan. We reacted in the way we knew, which was best, which was attacking the terror launch pads in Pakistan. And I think for us, as far as India was concerned, it was a done deal. It's only Pakistan that was escalating things. And I think Marco Rubio, JD Vance, and President Trump, frankly, have been trying to nudge Pakistan to stop escalation. I think after last night's escalation from the Pakistani side, it pretty much became clear that they were not listening, to what either we were saying, and also what the international community was saying. So it started off between a call between JD Vance. Marco Rubio and Asif Munir.
Okay.
And then there was a lot of back and forth. And I think once they were able to convince Munir that this is not going to end well, not only for Pakistan, but also for the region, I think once they had that settled, they came back to the Indian side and said, hey, look, Pakistan is going to do the ceasefire. Now, from India's perspective, I think we already said that in our briefing that, if they retaliate, we will have to act. So I think it sort of is a little, the US was trying to do what it was trying to do on the background, but as far as I think India was concerned, we handled it, in a very proper way, and from all the looks of it, from all the optics that we could see, it was already heading towards de-escalation, because even the Pakistani side said, if India does not do anything now, we will not react. So it could, there is a US angle to it. But from what I've learned through the sources here, I think it was already headed towards de-escalation, and President Trump has actually taken a lot of credit for doing this. Now we'll have to wait and watch, what happens with the Pakistani side. We obviously can't trust them, because the Indian line is to say that if there's another set of attack, we'll probably use this, or we will have to react, right?
Yes.
So we'll have to wait and watch how that pans out. But for now, I think Americans woke up to President Trump claiming that he's been able to achieve peace between India and Pakistan.
Exactly. You said that US wanted de-escalation from the very start, but initially the statement that had come out from Vice President JD Vance was that it is not their war. They're not interested in it. So then what was the change? Like, how did the change come in?
I think the world was able to see, how this could escalate into something bigger. And also you have to understand, right? India is seen as a responsible state. India is seen as somebody that, the world community can rely on. However, Pakistan is not seen as that reliable, especially given the fact the statements that were made by Asif Munir, the fact that, he said certain things, the fact that Pakistanis were sort of trying to, play smoke and mirrors with, oh, we are not associated with terrorism. If you go to the readouts specifically that it was issued by Marco Rubio, he's asked them multiple times to stop supporting terrorism. Yes. And I think at one point in time, it appears to us, although, thousands of miles away from India, that the Pakistani side was unreliable, and Americans felt that they had to step in before it could become a broader escalation. Again, I have to really, sort of keep emphasizing on the fact that from India, we knew what we wanted to do. We wanted to hit military targets. We wanted to hit terror camps. On the Indian side, Pakistanis do not India does not sponsor terrorism. India does not have terror pads. So the only thing Pakistan could have done is hit civilians, right? And I don't think that would have ended well for Pakistan. And I think that's where America was like, all right, we got to step in and start making more sense to these these generals in Pakistan who control the government and could lead to an escalation of war that frankly would not have ended well for Pakistan.
Exactly. You know, you mentioned that Trump took a lot of credit and Americans woke up to this announcement. I want to ask something on this line as well. That when we see the statement that has come from New Delhi's side, they clearly mentioned that the talks were direct, they were bilateral. Whereas, you know, the statement coming from the US side was that they mediated the talks between the two leaders. So, how do you look at the discrepancies? How do you make sense of this?
So the official readout is that the US brokered, the peace and ceasefire, right? And so that's the US line. From what you've told us in New Delhi, from what I've heard from my friends in New Delhi, it seems like the Pakistanis wanted to have, directly talk to the Indians. They were trying to do that, and we've done that. And if you look at the history of both the sides, we've always handled these things bilaterally. So the US may have moved some puzzle pieces of puzzle here and there, but looks like, from the looks of what New Delhi is saying, it was bilateral. Also, the fact that Ishita, the US side says there's going to be talk at a neutral venue. We do not see that from the Indian side. It is a bilateral issue. The only thing that probably could be discussed is how can Pakistan stop terrorism, and we do not even know if there's going to be neutral venue. So I think a lot of details are not there yet, but the Americans may have made an offer. Is my understanding that Americans probably like how they've treated talks in when they were dealing with the Taliban, right, in Afghanistan, or the Middle East crisis, or Russia. They always choose Middle East as a neutral venue. So maybe that's what they were proposing. But I really do not think that India has agreed to any of that.
No,
As
India
of
has
this
not.
moment, the only thing we've done is we've agreed to a ceasefire.
Yes, because India has said that no discussions will be held on any other issue or any other place. So, but of course, we'll get to know as more and more details emerge on the issue. Now, my last question to you is, Rohit, that we've seen Donald Trump, acting as a peacemaker, not just in this instance. We've also seen him acting like one when it comes to Israel-Hamas war, Russia-Ukraine war. How do you assess the role of Donald Trump as a peacemaker, given all the conflicts you're witnessing right now?
It is a very interesting question, Ishita. As you said earlier, JD Vance said it's none of our business, and then yet, America was involved, right? I think
Exactly.
America, as much as it wants to not get involved, right? It's so deeply connected, interconnected, penetrated with so many world affairs that it does not, they cannot just shrug off their responsibility. Now, as far as Donald Trump as a peacemaker goes, he was supposed to end the Russia-Ukraine war. He's been trying to do it for a while. He's blamed Ukrainians, he's blamed Russians. He desperately wanted a win domestically. And I think this also plays well for his own audience and his base that, look, I've stopped a war between two nuclear countries, that is India and Pakistan. And he was
Yes.
itching for it. He said multiple times that I want to intervene in this. And probably, I know both parties too well and I could do this. So I think he's going to be playing that political message. But I think America and American administration obviously wants peace in Russia, and they want to make a deal in Russia. They also want to stop what's going on in Israel and Gaza. That's not, it's not easy. We know that it was never easy. But as far
Yes.
as India and Pakistan is concerned, again, I have to say this again: India is seen as a responsible state, and hence, Donald Trump could probably come and claim victory here. But I think it was pretty clear from Indian perspective that we will only react to any act of terrorism, and we stopped, after we've made those strikes. So Trump is claiming victory here. We do not know. We'll have to wait and watch what he does with Russia and what he does with Israel and Hamas. But as far as India and Pakistan is concerned, he's going to drive this message home to say that he was the person who, as the official statement said, brokered peace. Now, I think there will be some more discussion and clarifications coming from both India and Pakistan on what Donald Trump had to say.
Exactly, but certainly in this instance, he's already claimed victory. Well, thank you so much, Rohit, for joining us here and telling us about the ceasefire that's been brokered between India and Pakistan by the US. Thank you so much. Now, we have seen that ceasefire has taken place between the two countries, India and Pakistan. It took effect from 5 p.m. IST. And now, DGMO level talks are going to be held on 12th of May. Now, let's listen into the bite from India's Foreign Secretary, Vikram Misri. He's spoken about the ceasefire. Listen in.
Earlier this afternoon, it was agreed between them that both sides would stop all firing and military action on land and in the air and sea with effect from 1700 hours Indian Standard Time today. Instructions have been given on both sides to give effect to this understanding, the Directors General of Military Operations will talk again on the 12th of May at 1200 hours. 1935 hours earlier this afternoon. It was agreed between them that both sides would stop all firing and military action on land and in the air and sea with effect from 1700 hours Indian Standard Time today. Instructions have been given on both sides to give effect to this understanding. The Directors General of Military Operations will talk again on the 12th of May at 1200 hours. 1935 hours.
Now that was Foreign Secretary of India giving you the details of the ceasefire that has been brokered between India and Pakistan. Now let's listen into the bite by Wing Commander Vyomika Singh as well. She's spoken about how India has decimated Pakistan's defense capabilities. Listen in.
Over the past few days, as we have seen, Pakistan all has suffered very heavy and unsustainable losses after it has given us an unprovoked attack on our installations. It has suffered losses in both land and air. There has been an extensive damage to the crucial Pakistani air bases like Skardu, Sargodha, Jacobabad and Bholari. In addition, a loss of AD weapon system and radars made the defense of Pakistani airspace untenable. Across the line of control, extensive and precise damage to military infrastructure and command control centers and logistic installations. In addition to that, 2 military personnel had led to complete breakdown of its defensive and offensive capability and also Pakistani morale.
Now, just after the ceasefire was declared between India and Pakistan, two nuclear-armed neighbours, we've seen visuals coming in from different sectors of Jammu and Kashmir also about celebratory visuals. You know, people are rejoicing the fact that finally ceasefire has taken place, and especially in the border areas. We've seen in the past few days a lot of shelling has been taking place, a lot of ceasefire violations are taking place, and this has also led to casualties. So therefore now celebrations are happening in those areas. They're enjoying the fact that finally a ceasefire has been put in place. So joining me now to help us understand more details about the ceasefire is our Executive Editor Gita Mohan. So thank you, Gita, for joining us. Now I want to ask you that a few hours before it was looking like this could escalate further, and suddenly a ceasefire has now been put in place. What do you think are the factors that led Pakistan to cave in at this point?
Well, Ishita, a few things have happened. One is that the government over here says that don't consider this a ceasefire. Ceasefire requires an agreement. It's not a ceasefire agreement between India and Pakistan. It's a mutual understanding that the two countries have come to. Now, how did they arrive at this mutual understanding to halt the guns for now? A lot of conversations took place. India is very clear. It was not mediation that was required. It was a one-sided decision by Pakistan because the ball was in Pakistan court that they needed to stop firing, stop retaliating. India responded to Pulwama and hit terror targets. What was Pakistan? What was Asim Munir doing? Now, a few things have happened. Minister of State for Foreign Affairs of Saudi Arabia was here. It was an unscheduled visit, and then he went to Pakistan. In the meeting with Pakistan, Asim Munir was also sitting. So Saudi Arabia, a very important partner of India, of Pakistan, and certainly a strategic partner of the United States of America, very close to the Trump administration. Then you see calls taking place between Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State and National Security Advisor, with his Indian counterpart, Dr. Jaishankar, and with his Pakistani counterpart, as also with the Prime Minister of Pakistan, Shehbaz Sharif, and Ishaq Dar. These conversations happened. But the clincher were not these conversations because it was not important whether if India wanted a ceasefire. India has always been saying, we of course wanted de-escalation, but it is not on us to de-escalate. It is on Pakistan.
Yes.
We were the ones who suffered a terror attack. So where did this entire decision, in all probability, if you see, according to my reading, the clincher was the conversation that the National Security Advisor and Secretary of State of the United States of America, Marco Rubio, had with Asim Munir, the Pakistani army chief.
Okay.
That was the call that decided on what needed to happen. And then, yes, of course, the DGMO of Pakistan called his Indian counterpart, and the decision was taken between the two countries. It is very clear over here that India and Pakistan had a conversation, decided on this entire matter, and then took the decision of a mutual understanding to hold the guns for now. India wants to see whether they can go forward or not with this, and whether Pakistan can hold true to the word and the understanding between the two countries. But the more important part over here is that the influence and the sway America held over Pakistan, and what is it that Rubio told Asim Munir to ensure that a decision on a ceasefire or a hold on the guns for now was taken.
All right. Now, my last question to you is, before we let you go, S. Shankar has already said that India remains committed to its fight against terrorism. We've also seen, a little discrepancies between what US said and what New Delhi said. New Delhi said that there are not going to be discussions held on any other issue or at any other place. So, what is India's position when it comes to, fighting terrorism, and also in the light of all this that is happening?
Well, a very important question you asked, Ishita, and that is an important one to address as well. The fact that, Trump announced this entire understanding before India and Pakistan did.
Yes.
Of course, trying to take credit for the entire thing, but not understanding that this was mutually done. Both countries should have been given the space to announce it at their own time, and time and place of choosing. That is not to be. Donald Trump did take the lead on this one. But more importantly, somewhere down the line, Marco Rubio overstepped when he said that they not only brokered the ceasefire, which is what they're calling it. There is no agreement over here. It's an understanding. They not only brokered peace for now, the temporary peace, but also that they will restart talks. Now, there's absolute clarity. Sources here, we are right outside the Ministry of External Affairs, where the briefing took place. The MOD is also MEA. The government officials over here have clearly told India Today Global that it is not, that there is going to be no conversation on any other issue in any other place. That's not happening. Right now, the focus is, and India's message is clear, talks and terror cannot go together. Pakistan will have to halt all kind of terrorism on its soil to ensure that there can be any forward movement in the future. For now, it's only a temporary halt and understanding until next time, because it's Pakistan, it's Asim Munir we're talking about. So debunked that entire claim that there could be a conversation. In fact, went a step further. One government official actually said that all the sanctions put on Pakistan after Pahalgam stay. Water, diplomatic, financial, all of them stay. Trade, the diplomatic missions, Indus-Water Treaty, nothing is going to be back on the table for now.
All right. So, a temporary halt to hostilities, to the terror attacks and counter-attacks, and understanding, not a ceasefire. This is what New Delhi's stance is as of now. All right, well, thank you so much, Geeta, for joining us here with all the latest. And viewers, stay tuned to India Today Global, where we'll continue all the coverage with regards to India-Pak ceasefire.